So Napoleon's consulate years, huh? Bet you think it's just a quick stop on the way to emperor, right?
Yeah, most people kind of skip over it.
But it's huge EE. We're talking France completely transformed, top to bottom. And get this, we've got historical texts that lay it all out. How he did it, the good, the bad. I mean, the guy was brilliant, but also
Yeah, definitely made some choices.
big choices. So in 5 years, he goes from military leader to like running the whole show.
5 years, can you imagine?
Seriously, barely time to like catch up on a TV show, let alone redo a whole country.
Right.
So spill the secrets, how do you manage it? Our sources really get into all the politics, especially that whole Constitution of Year 8 thing.
Oh, that's a good one. It's like a masterpiece of sneaky brilliance.
Sneaky how?
On the surface, totally democratic, right? But underneath, all this power flowing right to the first consul, and guess who that was?
Let me guess. Napoleon.
Bingo! It's like he built himself a power express lane right there in the law.
Okay, so maybe not totally playing by the rule. But point is, he's in charge. Problem is, France is a mess after the revolution.
Yeah.
What's his first move?
Had to stabilize things. First priority,
Sure.
the economy. France was basically bankrupt. So, boom, Bank of France.
National Bank, huh? Seems kind of obvious now, but back then.
Bold move. Stabilize the currency, and this is key, gave the government money to do stuff.
And Napoleon loved doing stuff. This is where his like inner builder comes out, right? Roads, bridges, canals. Our sources talk about public works on a crazy scale. He's not just fixing things, he's going all in on a brand new France.
Exactly. And he gets it, right? Economic success, it's not just about building things. Taxes, had to overhaul that whole system. Never going to be popular.
You know.
But it had to happen. You got to pay for those grand plans somehow. It shows he's a pragmatist. Sometimes you got to make tough calls for the bigger picture.
All right, so politics are handled, the money situation's improving, but France is still all over the place. Different laws everywhere, local customs. What's next on the to-do list?
Time for the Napoleonic Code to shine. This is one of the things he's most famous for, and honestly, it really tells you a lot about the guy.
Napoleonic Code, yeah, I vaguely remember that from school. Kind of boring, if I'm being honest. Why is it so important?
He took this jumbled mess of laws and made one system for the entire country. And here's the kicker. Equality before the law. Protection of property rights.
Whoa, that's pretty progressive, especially for a dude who just basically took over.
Right. But of course, there's a flip side. Got to keep in mind, this is Napoleon we're talking about.
Yeah, never too good to be true, right?
The code limits press freedom, and this is big. It reinforces those traditional gender roles. Not exactly progressive there.
So it's like revolutionary ideas mixed with like the old way of doing things. What a combo.
Right. Makes you wonder what his real goals were. Did he actually believe in these ideals? Or was it all about power? Historians are still arguing about it today.
A classic Napoleon move, I guess. All right, so we've covered politics, the economy, the law. But there's one big thing we haven't touched on yet. France is still super divided after the revolution, especially when it comes to religion.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Church lost a ton of power and property during the revolution. Bad blood on both sides. Napoleon, smart guy that he is, knew this had to be fixed if he wanted things to settle down.
Right, but how do you handle that kind of powder keg? I mean, Napoleon wasn't exactly known for being, like, super religious, was he?
Not really. But he understood the church had to be back on the team. This is where his diplomacy skills come in handy. The Concordat of 1801.
Concordat, huh? Fill me in. What was the deal?
Compromise time. Napoleon says Catholicism is the main religion in France. Church is happy.
Okay.
Church, in return, gives up any claim to all that property they lost.
Hold on. He basically made them officially accept a loss they'd already taken. That's some smooth talking.
Genius, really. Religious peace, at least for a while, and Napoleon looks even better to the people. He was all about symbolism, knowing when to give a little to get a lot.
This guy, I swear, playing the political game like a pro. But don't forget, he's Napoleon. The military genius is never far away. Even while he's like redoing all of France, he's still out there winning battles.
Always. Marengo, Hohenlinden, bam, bam. Decisive victories against Austria. France is top dog in Europe.
He was relentless, always pushing, expanding his influence.
Absolutely.
I'm sensing a pattern here. The guy could not sit still, had to be conquering, reforming, reshaping everything. But even with all that going on, he makes peace with Britain. The Treaty of Amiens, right? Didn't last, but still. How'd he pull that off?
He knew fighting Britain would be a drain. Bad for his plans at home. The treaty, even though it was short-lived, gave him the space he needed, implement those reforms, solidify his power.
So he's playing like 5 different chess games at the same time, then winning them all. It's kind of mind-blowing. But we're still missing one piece of the puzzle, education.
Yes. Napoleon knew France needed smart people to truly thrive. Big believer in meritocracy.
Meritocracy meaning?
It's about what you can do, not who your family is. Talent and hard work, that's what gets you ahead. Pretty revolutionary for the time, actually.
Sounds a bit like the American dream almost.
Kinda, yeah. So he sets up these schools, lycées, to train the next generation of leaders. And here's the big part. Open to everyone, at least in theory.
So a farmer's kid could be in class with the son of an aristocrat, competing for the same opportunities.
Exactly. Huge shift in thinking. He even had scholarships so talented kids from poor families could afford it. He wanted the best of the best. Didn't matter where you came from.
Okay, but there's a catch, right? Because knowing Napoleon, I'm guessing this wasn't just him being nice.
You got it. He was playing the long game. A meritocratic system, it creates a whole class of skilled and, importantly, loyal people to help him run things.
Meritocracy with a side of you owe me.
Yeah.
So smart and a little bit, manipulative. Exactly. And this is where we start to see him shift from first consul to first consul for life. He's building up to something bigger.
Oh, yeah. Things are about to get interesting.
Welcome back. So, last we left off, Napoleon's first consul, but clearly thinking bigger. Was he really a reformer deep down? Or was this all like a power grab?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Right. Keeps historians arguing to this day. It's like, you've got this puzzle, but some pieces are missing. Got to think about the context. What was going on back then?
Okay, big picture time. France, 10 years of revolution, terror, wars. People must have been exhausted, just wanting some peace and quiet.
Exactly. And Napoleon, he's got this whole strong leader vibe, all the victories. He looked like the answer, someone to finally fix things.
So he steps in, everyone's looking to him. But he doesn't just restore order, right? He goes full-on reform crazy. Is that where the true Napoleon comes out?
His vision was huge. Like, he wanted to create a whole new France, his way. Orderly, efficient, all about merit.
Law, money, education. He's basically remaking France in his image. But was it for them or for him? How do you even tell the difference?
That's the debate, right? Some say his reforms, like the Napoleonic Code, yeah, those had a lasting impact, made society more modern.
And you've got the Bank of France, all that building he did, education getting a boost. Not small potatoes.
Nope. But flip side, gotta look at that too. Less freedom for the press, women still stuck in traditional roles. Even democracy takes a hit, slowly but surely.
Progress, but with strings attached. Classic Napoleon.
It really is. Makes you think, how much can we admire a guy who does good but also...
Take some away.
Yeah, it's like a reminder, history isn't simple. Napoleon, he's this mix of big ideas and cold, hard reality. He's a product of his time, but what he did, it affects us even now.
How do you make sense of that? The good and the bad, all mixed together.
Gotta acknowledge both. Can't just slap a label on him, hero or villain. Done.
It's about seeing the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
Even the parts that are uncomfortable.
That's what history's all about. Not just memorizing names and dates, but asking tough questions, figuring out why people did what they did.
Learning from the past, even when it's messy. Okay, so we focused a lot on what Napoleon did inside France. But what about all the wars? We mentioned a couple victories, but there's more to it, right?
Always is. Napoleon, military genius, that wasn't just luck. He was thinking steps ahead, outsmarting everyone. Armies were his tools for war, A&D, for making deals.
Like 4D chess with the whole of Europe as the board. What was he aiming for with all these campaigns? Just land grab?
More than that, he had to make France safe. Remember, they were still fighting the Second Coalition, this huge group of other countries. Marengo, Hohenlinden, those wins pushed Austria back, showed everyone who's boss.
So it was power consolidation, but on a continental scale.
You got it. And with those wins, he could make peace treaties that were good for France, like the Treaty of Luneville. Boom, suddenly France controls a whole lot more land. He's literally changing the map.
And everyone's watching, seeing this guy who can't be stopped.
Image is everything. Every victory, every treaty, every reform, it all adds up. He looks invincible, and the French people love it.
Which brings us to the Treaty of Amiens in 1802. Peace with Britain, finally, but it doesn't last.
Huge win for Napoleon, though. Britain, that was his biggest rival. Getting them off his back meant he could focus on France, solidify everything he'd done.
Like he needed a timeout from all the fighting, right? Get his other projects done.
Yeah.
But even making peace, it was part of the plan.
Exactly. Time to breathe, look strong and stable to the French people, all part of his strategy.
This guy, seriously, Wins wars, makes peace, reforms everything, and builds up this whole image of himself as like a demigod. It's like he planned it all.
And the French, after all that chaos, they were ready for a hero. They wanted stability, and Napoleon offered it. Plus, this vision of France, strong, rich, back on top.
But was it worth it? We've seen how he played the system,
Yeah.
took away some freedoms. What's the final verdict?
That, my friend, is the question we'll keep unpacking as we move to the next chapter of Napoleon's story. Stick with us, we're about to get to the good part.
We've spent like 2 whole parts now looking at Napoleon, all the big stuff, the reforms, the battles. It's easy to forget there were, actual people living through this.
Right, easy to get lost in the big picture. But history is about individual lives, too. Real people's experiences.
So let's zoom in a bit. What was it like to be in France during all this? Was everyone like Team Napoleon?
Imagine, okay, you're in France, you've seen revolution, violence, it's been a rough decade. Suddenly this guy shows up promising to fix everything. Hopeful, but also
Scary.
totally. Big changes are always scary. But did things actually get better? Who are the winners in Napoleon's France?
Good question.
Well, the middle class, they definitely got a boost. Meritocracy, remember. Suddenly, it's about what you can do, not who you were. So government jobs, military, more chances to move up.
So if you were ambitious, talented, Napoleon's France, it was a good time to be alive. You could actually break out of the old system.
Yeah, that upward mobility, it was a big deal. Showed people things were really changing. But for most people, the peasants, the farmers, it's more complicated.
Not so great for them.
Some did okay, more stability. Some could even buy land. But a lot of them, they were still poor, struggling.
So the good stuff wasn't spread evenly. What about the Napoleonic Code? We talked about how it was kind of good and bad at the same time. What did that mean for everyday life?
For a lot of people, it meant safety, protection, knowing the law was the same for everyone, rich or poor. Property rights were a big thing, too.
So at least on paper, everyone's equal in the eyes of the law. That's
Wow.
a big change from before.
Huge. But we can't ignore the women, right? The code, it basically kept them in their place. Traditional roles, limited rights, equality for everyone. Not so much.
Progress, but only up to a point.
Yep. What about the Concordat? Remember that deal with the church? How'd that affect people?
Right, the Concordat.
A lot of Catholics, they were just relieved. Church is back, bells are ringing, you can be religious without getting in trouble. After the revolution, that felt pretty good.
Back to normal.
Yeah, but it's important to remember, Catholicism, that was the religion now. Everyone else still had limits, still not truly equal.
Okay, so another one of those half steps forward. Napoleon, always balancing things out. What about, like, the feeling of the time? Did people feel different under Napoleon?
Napoleon, he was a master of imagery, spectacle. He builds these huge monuments, arches, paintings, all showing him as this, like, godlike hero.
The Arc de Triomphe, right. That's basically Napoleon in building form. Grand, powerful, meant to last forever.
Exactly. And all that, plus the victories, the reforms, people started feeling proud to be French again, like their country was important.
But for some people, Napoleon was France. Strong, united, back on top.
Yeah, he gave them that vision.
Right.
And after all the craziness of the revolution, a lot of people wanted to believe it.
But not everyone, right. Someone had to be like, wait a minute, this isn't right.
Oh, absolutely. You can't control what everyone thinks. There were groups meeting in secret, whispering in cafes. They wanted the republic back, more democracy.
So even with Napoleon being super powerful, some people still held on to those revolutionary ideals. Liberty, equality.
Yep. And that's important to remember. Power isn't everything. People will always fight for their freedom, for what they believe in.
What a journey. We started with Napoleon taking over, and now we've seen how he changed France, how he balanced all that power and what it meant for real people, good and bad.
And that's the thing about history. It's not just facts and figures, it's people's stories. Ambition, idealism, wins and losses. It's all mixed up together.
It shows you, even the most powerful people, they're shaped by their times. And how we see them, that can change too.
So to everyone listening, keep digging. Don't just take our word for it. Read more, ask questions, come to your own conclusions about Napoleon.
Because understanding the past, it helps you understand the present,
Yeah. And hey, maybe you'll even find some inspiration. People who resisted, who fought for a better future, even when it seemed impossible. It's a good reminder that things can change.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.